We have, over sexualizing. We have porn. We have promiscuity. We have twerking. We have sex, and I'll get into what I mean by that as far as sex. We have masturbation, and we also have backdoor intercourse, right? This is Gypsy Jones here for another sermon. Call it a sermon for right now until we figure out a more KuvuK type of name, right? But this is Gypsy Jones here representing the study of the Omnimetaspiritual, everything that is beyond traditional spirituality and religion, we could say. And the practice of KuvuK, practice of transcendence, right? Transcending the third dimensional experience, transcending the third dimensional experience, traveling through the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension just represents transition, so that we can fully activate our fifth dimensional bodies. And that way we will ultimately be able to experience the sixth dimensional world, right? So we're in the third dimensional world. We want to experience sixth dimensional world. We must transition through the fourth dimension, which we are already doing, meaning, you're seeing ghosts, you're seeing aliens, you're experiencing glitches in the matrix, all these type of things. Your psychic abilities are kicking up, your, premonitions, your empathicness, all of these things. And then we're trying to get up to a full capacity, which is the fifth dimension. Ashe, full activation. Now, today's sermon is all centered around the chakras, right? So we all know about the 7 traditional chakras inside the body. You could say that there are more chakras inside the body based off of melanin clusters, right? But we won't get into that. You can also say that there's more chakras outside the body as well, as far as the auras. We will not get into that. What we will get into is the overstimulation of our chakras and the underactivation of our chakras, right? Because this is what's going to continue to hold us back, right, from our fifth dimensional activation, right? So what do I mean by, what's the difference between stimulation and activation? Well, the stimulation is it's what you receive from outside of the body, right? It's that energy impulse that's coming from outside of the body, and it's coming from outside of the body. Activation, it comes from within the body. Now, that doesn't mean that something outside of it cannot help to activate it, right? But when we're talking about stimulation versus activation, the activation creates expansion. We want to expand the chakras out, right? We want to, because each chakra is a vortex, right? From the root chakra to the sacral, to the solar plex, to the heart, to the throat, to the third eye, to the crown. Each chakra is a vortex into other dimensions, other frequencies, right? All stemming from the one true chakra, which is the soul. Ashe. But the 7 chakras, are these vortexes, right? And we're trying to expand them because the bigger they become, essentially the higher our frequency is, or the more we are able to change frequencies, right? Or change dimensions, right? Phase in and out. And manipulate our reality with our mind. But we must expand the chakras. These stimulating factors that we're talking about are the factors that send an impulse of energy into that chakra, but do not expand it. Actually, they contract it, making it tighter and smaller, locking us in further into this third dimensional plane. While the expansion, it unlocks us as third dimensional plane and gets us closer and closer to the sixth dimensional plane of experience, right? So we want to practice activation versus the stimulation. Well, let's make it simple. What are the stimulating factors versus what are the activating factors? Right. Actually, I wrote a list because I didn't want to miss anything. I didn't want to overlook anything. If we start with the root chakra, right? Right, where the sexual organs are. The stimulation factors we have is lust. We have, over sexualizing. We have porn. We have promiscuity. We have twerking. We have sex, and I'll get into what I mean by that as far as sex. We have masturbation, and we also have backdoor intercourse, right? We have these are our main stimulating factors. Now, I'm not telling anyone what to do or what not to do. I'm not saying that I have not participated in any of these things. All these stimulation factors I'm gonna go down, I'm not saying that I haven't participated or am not participating. I am merely just stating out that this is what they do. But just like you, I'm a work in progress, and just like you, I'm trying to go to the next level as well. It's not that these things are wrong per se, right? It depends on your perspective. And in some cases, we might be able to say, I might say some of these things are wrong. But I'm not here to try to tell you if it's wrong or not. I'm only here to tell you that if you're trying to go to the fifth dimensional, you're trying to activate your fifth dimensional body, you're trying to go to the sixth dimensional plane, these things are slowing down your progress and your process to that. That's all that I'm saying, right? This is not a judgment on anybody, because that's not what we're here to do. It's about, we're trying to achieve ultimate sovereignty for each individual, so that we can have a real sovereign society and a real sovereign nation. But in order to do that, we have to be honest. You have to be honest, right? So when you look at these things, basically this is all just, sexualization, right? We look at it, right? The overall sexualization, what it does is that we're doing it to stimulate our root chakra. We're doing these things to stimulate our root chakra, right? Because our body wants to activate. Our body wants to activate. Our sacral, our solar plexus, our hearts, our throats. It wants to activate. So because we're not, most of us, right, including myself for a long time, and still in many ways, because we are not activating our chakras like we need to, our bodies are finding other ways to do it. Our subconscious is trying to find other ways to do it through stimulation. And that stimulation, though it seems like it is helping us, it is actually causing it to constrict more. Basically, it's creating, a blockage. Why? Because it's creating, one, is creating trauma, and two, it is also, what is it called? Hypertrophying, or you can say, right? It's creating hypertrophy with those chakra muscles. That chakra, we're relying on these, I don't want you to say just outside stimulations, but these artificial stimulations, right? There are natural stimulations that actually help to expand the chakras versus the artificial stimulations that contract the chakras, right? And they add a certain level of trauma as well, which, the vortex wants to protect itself. And when you're getting these negative artificial energies caught up in them and being used in them, it causes them to contract. So that's what happened with the porn. That's what happened with the masturbation. That's why, even though now when you indulge in these things, the promiscuity, the sexualization, the twerking, the porn, the masturbation, the backdoor intercourse, right? When you engage in these things, it does temporarily stimulate and activate that chakra, allowing you to do certain rituals, certain spiritual work, right? It does allow you to do these things. Understand? It's just like taking steroids. It's just like taking steroids. When you take steroids, it allows you, when you took the steroids, to do what you need to do. Like, it gives you that boost of testosterone. It gives you that, it helps you with that recovery time, right? So if you want to use it, you can use these things that I listed on the stimulation part. You can use these things to do spiritual work, to do ritual, to do incantations, to do channeling, to do manifestations. You can actually use them. You can do it for a lot of things, but you have to keep using it though. That's the thing. You have to keep using it because your body gets used to it. Your body starts to rely on it. Your chakras get used to it. Your body gets used to the steroids. Your chakras get used to your spiritual body, right? The chakras get used to the artificial stimulation. The steroids is the artificial testosterone. Whatever other chemicals are involved in them. Artificial. So then, and then also your muscles, though they get stronger, they also get tighter. Right? Using these steroids, your body gets, I say tighter, your body gets more, one thing because it's these poisons, and two, because it's artificial, your body gets tighter, gets more constricted. Which down the road opens you up for injury. So then when you think about some people in the spiritual communities are fearful of the Kundalini activation because of you like burning out your chakras. Well, and then they never give like an explanation. Well, what do you need to do to make sure you don't burn out your chakras, right? Same thing, like what do you need to do to make sure you don't tear your muscles while lifting, right? Tear your tendons off the bone, things like that. Well, you have to take care of your body in a natural way, or in a more natural way at least, right? In a balanced way. Ashe. I'm not going to tell you not to ever use these stimulations. But if you're relying on stimulation like most of us are, then just like if you're relying on the steroids, you're going to run into injury issues. Or when you're trying to get deeper into the Kundalini activation, because that's what's going to be needed when it comes to going to that fifth dimensional realm, using the Kundalini energy, using the prana energy, you're going to have to use those things. If your chakras are too constricted, you might pull a chakra muscle or burn them out, in a sense, as they say, right? Now, so what do I have for, well, what's the activation for the root chakra? Kegels, which is just moving, flexing that muscle down there, that muscle that allows you to pee and stop peeing, right? Kegels, for the men and for the women. Meditation is going to be for all of them, though. Understand that meditation is what it's. I mean, it's part of all the activation of all the chakras. So it is, you could say, the main component out of it all. Maybe not the most powerful or the most stimulating out of all these activation, exercises, but it is stimulating enough, and it will help to naturally expand your chakras, right? So we have Kegels, meditation, and Tantra, right? So on the stimulation side, we had sex. On the activation side, we have Tantra. And when I say Tantra, I don't necessarily mean that I'm sticking you to all the Tantra positions, all the sexual positions and the, like a bunch of crazy things that you have to do. That's not necessarily what I mean. The Tantra, though, represents the connection, the sexual connection and bond of love, of pure love, that the two participants have. And the purity and the cleanliness that you have coming into that connection. Right? The purer you are, the cleaner your aura and your energy is, the less trauma that you have. The deeper the bond that you have, the stronger the tantric experience you will create, which will naturally expand and grow your root chakra vortex. Ashe. Going to the next one, we have the sacral chakra, right? Like right where like the belly button is, the sacral chakra. The sacral chakra, what is the artificial stimulations? Junk food, artificial foods, pregnancy, and failed relationships. Ashe. So, junk food, we understand junk food, chips, candy, or at least, the unhealthy chips, right? Cakes, pastries, all snacks, basically. And then we have the artificial foods. So we have like the artificial meats, the artificial eggs, the artificial plants, artificial, vegetables, like pizza rolls or something, right? These artificial foods. What else? Lunchables, Fruity Pebbles, artificial foods. Pregnancy. Now, pregnancy, which is a natural thing, right? Pregnancy is a natural thing. Pregnancy stimulates the sacral chakra. The thing is, you have, in our current society, especially here in America, you have too many women getting pregnant. Too many women in America getting pregnant for the purpose of just being pregnant, just having a child, just having some sort of companionship that they know is permanent versus the relationship ones that nowadays are very temporary, right? I should probably also put on there pets, even though I did put pets in later for something else, but pets can also go there as well, depending on the situation, right? And essentially the children of today, I say this to people sometimes, that children of today have become pets for a lot of mothers. Now, if that's not the reason why you have a child, and it was a mistake or accident. I mean, I understand. I'm not saying that it's wrong to have children, or to have children and be, single person. Is not what I'm trying to get at. Well, all I'm trying to get at is the purpose or the reasoning behind the children, because what's happening is we have people having children, and it's going to stimulate the chakra for both the men and the women. It's going to stimulate, more for the women, of course, but it stimulates for the sacral for the men as well, because it's that nurturing side, right? But you have these children being made and being born, and it stimulates the sacral chakra, because sacral chakra has to get working in order, one, to incubate that baby, and then two, as you're taking care of the child, baby. But then there's all of these stresses behind it, because there's no village to assist with these babies, and there's no, and then the relationships aren't balanced either, right? So it ends up being more of and then it becomes this trauma. because the relationships aren't working, because maybe the father's not there, because the mother is not there, maybe, they're just having these issues, they can't co-parent or whatever, it ends up creating a bigger trauma in the sacral. So it creates an initial stimulation, but then in the end, it actually ends up causing it to contract, right? So that's why pregnancy is on the list. And then the other one that I had on there was the failed relationships. So we are also getting into relationship after relationship after relationship. And I'm not telling you not to get into relationships. I'm not saying that I don't get into relationships. I'm saying that we're getting into these relationships and then we're not growing enough to when we get to the next relationship. That's we don't learn enough from the last one. We don't heal enough from the last one. That's a big issue, a big part of it. But we are getting into these relationships and then it stimulates us initially. We're in love, we're happy, it's all a good time, what have you, right? And it stimulates that sacral energy. But then we get fearful because the last relationship didn't work, or because this person said that, or our friend said this, or we know someone else is failing, or we start to argue, we have a first argument, and then we have these PTSD, and we start saying, oh, you're just like the last person because of one argument, or because they said one thing that sounded similar to the last person we were with, right? Or just the energy feels similar to another traumatizing event that you went through, another traumatic relationship or toxic relationship that you had, right? Or the relationship that doesn't work out, period, and it ends, and then it just constricts that sacral chakra. Or during the stress of that relationship, it just constricts it more and more and more. See, initially it stimulates it, but then it constricts it because of the failing. Not sure. So, what will expand the sacral chakra? Fasting. Now, why fasting? Because when I talk about the junk food, I talk about the artificial. See, the sacral deals with the womb for the women, but it also deals with the intestines, where digestion happens, where blood is made, or at least it's supposed to be made in a healthy body. So we have fasting, which allows, and when I say fasting, doesn't mean just purely like I'm not eating anything, but just fasting meaning just taking a break from maybe the junk food, taking a break from maybe certain meats, pork or red meat or something, right? Taking a break from eating 3 meals. You don't eat 1 meal a day. Taking a break, right? Giving your body less to digest, right? Allows for the sacral chakra to get cleaned up and for it to just, and then it'll expand a little bit just from fasting, which also allows you to get more and more in tune into your emotions as well because of that. Fruit, because fruit goes straight to the intestines to be used and utilized, whether it's to rebalance the gut biome, refurbish your gut bacteria, or it's used to create new blood and put into your bloodstream. Belly tucks. When you're breathing and you push, you can breathe into the belly, right? But you also pull in to the belly, pull in that bottom abdominal wall as you are breathing out. Belly tucks. Or even if you don't have necessarily be breathing in and out, but you're just holding it. Just exercising, pulling your belly button into your spine, right? This also exercises the sacral chakra, helps to expand it in a natural way. Meditation, of course, is always meditation. And I'll explain later what I mean how to do meditation to actually expand your chakras. Family. Of course, a healthy family, but family. Cooperating and happily working with, experiencing time with family. Children, significant other, parents, siblings, extended family, right? And bonds, creating bonds, and not just, see, you got friendships, right? You got relationships, right? Well, what's the thing about ships? They can all sink, right? But bonds are very, very hard to break. Bonds are essentially forever. So by creating bonds, pacts with your family, creating bonds with your significant other, creating a bond with your friends, creating a bond with your children, a bond that also activates and grows the sacral chakra, because it doesn't come with PTSD and trauma. And the last one I got one on here is being in love. Being in love, which being in love is a very actually being in love, right? Meaning that it's not just a feeling at this moment. It's you're in love with this person, who they are, what they represent, with you, what y'all represent, where you're going. Like, you see, it's not just, okay, when I feel happy with you. It's the same thing like with your children. Like, you're not always happy with your children, but you always love your children. You always have that, you're like in love with your children. It's the same thing with your significant other. Being in love with your significant other, even if you're not always happy or the most excited necessarily to see them, but you're just this in loveness, right? But trying to do as much as you can to become in love. So doing the best that you can do to be in love as much as possible romantically, right? But that requires that the trauma can't be. You can't have the baggage there. That's what gets in the way of us being in love with each other, right? As well as the insecurities, as well as the lacking of a village. But the traumas and the relationship after relationship after relationship, along with the I'm in a relationship and now I'm thinking about the next relationship, or there's a possibly better relationship or a better person. That's not what relationships are about. They're not about getting the best person. It's about getting the best person for you, which we kind of skew because we think that tends to be our initial goal, to get the best person for me. And then when you get a person, you start thinking, well, there might be an even better person for me, which I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible. And there probably is maybe a better person for you. But it's like children, or better yet, it's like getting a dog. You want to try to get the best dog for you. Maybe it's the best cat, maybe the best parrot, I don't know. You want to get the best pet for you. And then you get a pet. Typically, people don't start thinking, well, after a while, after a year, after two, like I could get a better dog. Let me replace this dog. I get a better cat. Let me replace this cat. We might sometimes people do joke about it or talk about like, he's always peeing, the dog's always peeing everywhere. So like we do joke about these things, and some people do get rid of their pets, but for the most part, we keep the pet that we have because we created a bond with that pet. We created a bond with that dog, a bond with that cat. No matter what nonsense comes with them. That's what creating a bond is. Because maybe we don't know if they're the best possible pet that we could have for us in the entire world. We don't really know. But we do know that when we picked that pet, we believe for them to be, they were the best possible pet at that time. Therefore, we continue to honor that pet no matter what, through the end of time, right? And that's how you have to go about relationships. That, you may have, who knows, is it the best person? I mean, they're probably not. That's probably not the best person for you, to tell you the truth. I mean, there's 7 billion people on the planet. What are the odds that you actually ran into the best possible person for you, right? No, but you picked the best possible person that you could have picked out of what was available. So then you honor that and stick to that and create a bond with that person. And that allows for, unless they just go out of their way to ruin the relationship, if they don't go out of their way, which most people, they really don't go out of their way, right? But we as the partners, both sides, the men and the women, tend to go out of our way finding and focusing on the flaws of the other person, or just focusing on the traumas of the past that we get reminded of in this new person. We go out of our way to create an issue, right? And that causes that initial stimulation of the sacral chakra to then close back up, versus trying to find ways to be more in love with this person that we're with. Ashe. So what I want to do is, because we're working on these sermons, which we're temporarily calling them sermons right now, and we're figuring this thing out. So I'm going to stop right there with the sacral chakra, and then we're going to pick up next week, because this is going to be something that I do each weekend. Right now, it's Sunday for me. I don't know if this is going to go up today because it's already late in Sunday evening. But I'm going to do these each weekend. I'm trying to do them Saturday and Sunday. I'm getting my schedule together, and we are going to grow together. We're going to expand together for the purpose, the Omnimetaspiritual purpose, the KuvuK purpose, is to gather and explore and work through as much information as possible, so that we may be able to KuvuK, to transcend from our third dimensional bodies, transition through the fourth dimension, which just means to transition our spiritual and physical bodies, elevate them to fully activate our fifth dimensional bodies, right? Which is just a fully activated, fully conscious self, meaning that our consciousness, that there is no more subconscious, that we become fully conscious of all of that is our subconscious, so that we may then ultimately be able to experience on this plane a sixth dimensional experience, which just means that we are able to no longer have to rely on manipulating the world around us with our hands, but we manipulate it with our own minds. Ashe. So that's the Omnimetaspiritual way. Omnimetaspiritual, everything, all things that are beyond traditional spirituality. KuvuK, the practice of KuvuK, which is the practice of transcendence, transcending the third dimension through the fourth into our fifth dimensional body to reach the sixth dimensional plane. And that is our sermon for today. We'll work on our outros as well. Ashe. So Ashe, Asante, and Amen. Ime Kamalika. It is done. And this is Gypsy Jones. I'll catch you guys next weekend. But yeah, you'll see me all week as well. Ashe. Peace, love, and light.